Everybody, welcome back to Wicked Good Sports. This is At the Buzzer, and we're joined by Ryan Flynn, filling in for Jack Tiernan. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been an eventful afternoon
Mm-hmm.
NBA wise.
NFL wise, too, we're gonna have probably four videos come out tomorrow. To NBA, to NFL, but we're here for the NBA talk. Some surprises, and maybe not surprises in Brooklyn. What is happening?
Well, Steve Nash he left. It's
Mm-hmm.
reporting that basically they both decided it was best for him to leave. It's most likely he got fired. That
Mm-hmm.
being said, I can't imagine he was too happy with the situation. I mean, just watching and reading the body language, I also just don't think it's a great situation there for any
Mm-hmm.
coach, especially a newer coach.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think that this last year and a half in Brooklyn has been a worst nightmare if you're a coach. He went there thinking I got two superstars. I'm going to potentially coach to a championship. And then really immediately everything was fucked. I think Kyrie said that we don't even need a coach right after he got hired, which, not great, not what you want your star player to be saying, but in retrospect, better than some of the stuff he's been saying and sharing on Twitter recently. So, where do you think it really went wrong for Steve Nash? As a player, an all-time great player, but didn't quite work out as a coach.
So here's the thing to like maybe fill some context from earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Durant worked with Steve Nash, I believe, in Golden State, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an assistant, and he really liked Steve Nash. He was a big reason Steve Nash was brought on.
Mm-hmm.
I also know that right when they got Kyrie and KD, they were looking to put the team together, and I believe there were a lot of voices, basically driving home the concern around, if you have KD, you have Kyrie, you're gonna need someone who's gonna be more of a locker room leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie is just kind of proven he's not that
Mm-hmm.
for a variety of reasons. KD, is definitely not a vocal leader.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could argue he's got kind of the Kawhi leadership going for him, where it's like he leads by action. But I mean, we haven't seen him be an effective leader on a team,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, I mean, this team really doesn't have much leadership. You would think if they did, things would be going better. But then again, can this team even be led if there was like a strong voice in opposition to Kyrie? Would that even work out?
Well, I think that's where we're going to transition, right? With Ime Udoka, it
Mm,
would be a perceived stronger voice.
yes.
So yeah, I don't really. So if we're bringing in a coach as the stronger voice, that's going to be a real interesting dynamic. Personally, I feel like, especially given the last few days,
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie just continues to prove. I don't really think he's at a point where he can access coaching, right?
Right.
I think there's just a whole lot of other stuff he's got to work out,
Right.
to say the
Yeah. I
least.
mean, all right. So, like, not to beat around the bush, Kyrie Irving tweeted out a recommendation for a movie that ended up being very anti-Semitic. He got a lot of pushback. He had a reporter ask him about it and be like, "Hey, why did you share that? Like, did you just not watch it? Did you not? Were you not familiar with what it was?" Kyrie Irving really didn't appreciate that pushback in the moment, which was another bad look. He did delete the tweet, but I mean, it was like 4 days of it being up, so not that great. And then yesterday, they had some, like, I don't know if protesters is the right word, but basically some people sitting courtside,
Mm-hmm.
speaking up against like anti-Semitism, and it's just a whole thing, Ryan. where do you think Kyrie is at right now? Like one, I don't think the NBA is going to suspend him or anything, or they would have like done something already. But like, I don't want to sound like a bitter Celtics fan or anything. Like we definitely tried to warn net fans that Kyrie was like a
Oh yeah.
bad teammate and like not necessarily, for how talented he is, he's not someone you really want on your team. And I think that's proven true. Like, what's gonna happen with Kyrie here?
So I just don't think really any of us know what's on Kyrie's mind. You know what?
Mm.
The closest person in not sports, I'll go beyond to media. I can probably compare him to at this point is maybe like a Kanye,
Yeah,
where like his
especially because
behavior
the
at this.
anti-Semitism lately, it's really been
It's
like, yeah.
so that brought it forth, but he just doesn't. Yeah, he just doesn't seem really capable of processing his actions appropriately at this point. And it's also the erratic behavior. I mean, he had a really good quote last week, kind of defending Ben Simmons, where he's kind of like, hey, this guy hasn't played in a while,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like really emphasizing the team. And I was listening to a podcast, I'll shout it out, Mismatch. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the guys works for the Grizzlies, right? He does like the pregame show or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he had reports when they went to Memphis, they stayed overnight. That apparently they went to a restaurant that's a famous a restaurant where a lot of famous people involved in civil rights, um, ate at.
Have Ian, yeah.
Yeah, and basically people are just reporting that Kyrie's like the nicest guy in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
That he was just like so sweet, and I just think it's so funny because you hear those reports a lot. Like you
Yeah.
hear about him being terrible, all right, to ad sponsors, all sorts of stuff. But then a lot of people report he's a really nice guy. So again, it just kind of displays this erratic behavior. And I just feel like at this point that needs to be addressed where we can really like talk about him as a
Mm-hmm.
season long contributor to a team, let alone a star on a team.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we certainly had our complaints in Boston. I do think like it's gotten worse. Like there wasn't like, well, what was the worst thing in Boston? He was talking about the flat Earth. Sure, whatever. Like who cares? He can believe that there's a flat Earth. It doesn't negatively affect anything. But it's really kind of spiraled almost. And yeah, it's kind of led to an interesting situation where like you can't imagine Steve Nash wanted to be the coach, so that when they say that there was like a mutual agreement to part ways, I do believe that. A lot of times it's just, oh, we mutually agreed. It's like, did you, or did you just fire him? But I can see wanting to get out of this situation, especially where things aren't going so great to start off. But with Ime Udoka, obviously he's a great coach. I don't think there's any disputing that. He really, led the Celtics last season. However, he is suspended from the Celtics organization for kind of undisclosed reasons, but what we can gather is he had an inappropriate relationship with somebody who was like below him in the hierarchy of the organization, which is not something that Celtics management was cool with. He's suspended. Why do you think the Nets hired him of all people right now?
Well, I think if you go back to when KD had wanted Steve Nash fired, right? He had kind of said that the team wasn't being held accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically there was no one taking that strong helm. Even though I would argue, like to some degree, KD's got to do that as a player, right? And if
Right.
he shows the coach that respect and buy-in, the rest of the team probably is going to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at this point, we can say what we want about Steve Nash's coaching. I think to some degree he's a bit of a scapegoat to this rough start to the season. I
Mm-hmm.
know he also clearly looked. I thought every time I watched him, he looked very distraught. Like he
Yeah.
just was not having a good time. So I think the thought was you bring in someone like Ime, who's like the kind of the exact opposite, takes the exact opposite kind of approach that Steve Nash did, where he's going to come in, he's going to run the show, and he's going to hold you accountable, right? I could see on a desperate end why they would think Ben Simmons could use that.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think it's a really weird fit. I don't really see KD buying into a coach's system like that because I think Ime is a guy who needs you to fully buy in and play along with his system.
Mm-hmm.
That was a reason, for instance, like I think KD would have been could have been a tough fit with him in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other end, I just think the hard-nosed way he coaches, yeah, that worked really well with this like young group who didn't know how to win, that is, wants to win.
Right.
But these are all like stars. I mean,
All
to say this in a very
champions, other than Simmons, like
yeah,
Kyrie
to
and
say this in a
KD.
very gentle way, Simmons at the very least has proven to be a very sensitive soul.
Yes.
I don't really know that he's going to respond well
Mm-hmm.
to this kind of directive approach where he's going to be held accountable when he makes a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: Ime only coached for a year, right? It was a very different situation,
Mm-hmm.
so we really don't know.
It was a very good year, but yeah, like you said,
And it's
would
it was
it be
one group of
repeatable?
it was one group of guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? He didn't come into the next year when there were changes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna see like we don't really know. He could prove to be a super malleable guy who can adjust to the team and is just a great coach no matter where he's at. But based on the small picture frame we have, right, of his coaching style, I can't imagine it going super well, smoothly at least immediately, right? I really don't see this team just like turning around because of the coach. And again, it was kind of like this isn't true, but Kyrie saying we don't need coaches. To a degree, that's how Kyrie and KD have been playing, right? I mean, I will say I watched them at the end of last week. I think it was against the Mavericks, and you could see there were flashes where I could see they were all playing together. Simmons still looks hesitant, but I thought he looked a little more fluid in his playmaking and just comfort in the offense, even if he wasn't always shooting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's just a lot to work out, I think.
Yeah, if you had to like give a prediction now, do you think this will work out?
So I don't really think the Nets have a choice at this point, right? They just
Right.
fired
I
their
mean, will they be successful more than anything?
So I'll say is they fired their coach. They brought in this new guy who's successful in a year. They have this talent. The personalities behind the talent have been in question for some time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to continue to be the case. I do think, right? They don't really have an out. I think Ime I think he'd stick it through. I don't really see him being a guy who's just going to give up. I think they'll get through the season, and I think I'm going to still say they probably make the play-in.
Okay. I mean, that's good. Do you think there's any chance that Celtics are going to release everything now that he has officially parted ways with the Celtics?
I don't think so. I personally don't think it would be a good idea. I don't really think there would be a point to that.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is now going to have more speculation, and then people will start spreading rumors. So maybe the Celtics respond. I don't know. Personally, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It's all unfortunate. And
it's good for us as Celtics fan because this is not our problem anymore.
No, not at all. And the thing is, as frustrating as it was, and I know some people, I've kind of seen a little stuff on the internet where people are like, "Oh, well, this is what we get for firing a guy for having us." No, that wasn't a side piece. No, that wasn't the case, right? When you actually look at who he was having a relationship with, how it was handled, the fact
anyone would get fired in that situation.
Their hands are
most
tied.
companies.
And the decision making there to have it so close to home, right? And there are a lot of ties there. I believe she was even though he's not in Boston anymore, I believe she's a very, very good friend of Danny Ainge. Yeah, it's just poor decision making, and your hands are tied. You have to respond.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, is there anything else about this story that we didn't touch on that you wanted to? If not, we can maybe plug your blog where you go into it a bit more.
Yeah, so if you want to check out on the Wicked Sports Everything blog, I just posted about this exact issue. And basically, the whole thing here is rather than focus on Steve Nash or even Ime Udoka, as like interesting as that is, what I
Mm,
think we need to continue to really focus on with this team are the three stars. And we are, two, I guess 2 stars, but even like Kyrie at this point, I don't even know where he's at.
mm,
But honestly, Ben Simmons, I don't really think we can put too much stock on him right now. Right, he's
yeah.
completely rebuilding.
Mm,
I really think what we have to focus on mostly are Kyrie and KD.
yeah.
Right, that's really what they need to be looking at. And
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But interesting story. It never a dull moment with the Nets. It seems. At least not lately.
no, absolutely not. In 7 games, I mean, right, we could have easily predicted. Steve Nash was probably a strong favorite for an NBA coach to first be fired.
Mm,
Doc Rivers was up there as well.
mm,
But I was 7 games in. I mean, personally, I think it's a little harsh.
yeah.
There must be a lot we don't know, right? On both ends. I think on Steve Nash, like the level of stress. I remember I read something like one of the cities they were in, they stayed overnight or something, and he was literally walking, just walking. Someone said they just saw him walking in the street alone, just like clearly, basically like they had to guess he's just contemplating life.
Yeah.
That's not a great sign. When you're Steve Nash, like
Mm,
former Hall of
yeah.
you know.
He's out there like I am a Hall of Fame player. Have made millions and millions. Why am I doing this? This is awful. Yeah. Um, you know, it doesn't always work out the transition to coaching for a lot of
Yeah,
reasons. But yeah.
it's too bad too because personally, and I'm probably the minority here, I'd kind of like to see Steve Nash get an opportunity somewhere else,
Mm,
right? I'd like to see him in an easier situation, maybe
yeah.
in terms of, almost like player management.
Mm.
But I
Maybe
don't
one
know if
with
that's going to
less
be.
expectations right off the bat too.
Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
that's going to be feasible at this point, though. We'll
Hmm.
see.
Hey, Jason Kidd sucked with the Nets also, and then he's a pretty
That's
decent
true.
coach now with the Mavericks. Like,
I could argue he's a very good coach,
yeah.
right?
So
I mean, that team was a top defense last year. Yeah, they look
yeah,
pretty solid this year.
and another like really great player who it's some growing pains into being a head coach. I also thought like not to get too sidetracked, but I thought maybe Jason Kidd got hired very quickly to be a head coach. Maybe the same thing happened with Steve Nash here, where it's like he could have used some more time learning to be a coach.
Yeah, with these kind of things, we're not going to. Again, we don't want to go off the rails here with like the
Mm,
Lakers, right? They're just pointing at the head coach, this, and sometimes also look at like some of the front office decisions. Like I'm just thinking, if you have these two guys, right, and people at your consulting are voicing concerns around these two guys as your leaders, right?
mm,
I feel like you would need to bring. I just feel like you need to bring someone else in, or you want to surround Steve Nash with like a strong group of like assistant coaches, right? Like,
mm,
I just don't think he had enough around
yeah,
him, right?
that's fair.
And
Yeah,
and you could put that on Steve. Like, should Steve have, you know, look to seek out like stronger staff? Maybe, but I also think the front office, you got to kind of help the coach you're hiring, right? You
yeah.
believe in him, you got to empower him.
Very interesting. All right, Ryan. Thank you so much for your time, as always. In real life, we're going to turn right around and talk about the Celtics, but for anyone just watching this video, please check out Ryan's blog at wickedgoodeverythingsports.com. It goes more into this. You can follow the channel on Twitter at WickedGoodSport or WG Everything, Instagram Wicked Good Everything, Twitch at twitch.tv/Wicked Good Everything, and on TikTok, search Wicked Good Sports, search Wicked Good Everything, and we will see you in the next one.